Hi, today is the balsamic or the dark moon, so I wanted to take a moment or two to speak to you about cleansing. The dark moon is a perfect time to do some cleansing, whether you're cleansing your home or yourself. It's really good time to get rid of any energies that you don't want to carry with you. So I'd like to talk a little bit about sage. Now, many people like to use white sage to cleanse. It's one of my personal favorites, but I do need to explain that white sage is not necessarily something you would use for a heavy cleansing. So just to give yourself a light cleansing and to kind of get rid of those spiritual cobwebs we sometimes have in our homes, white sage is great for that. It's also great for cleansing ritual space. White sage can be purchased in bundles. These are smudge bundles, and there are different smudges available. So there are plenty of videos out there. I'm not going to take the time to get into that right now. White sage can also be purchased loose, which is my favorite method of using white sage. And you can light the cluster, or you can use individual pieces. When you're burning white sage, you can use an abalone shell, which a lot of people like to use, or my personal choice is a raku dish, which is great because we have the handle, and it's just something I prefer to use. So we light the white sage. And again, one piece, the bundle, it's really a matter of personal choice. You do get a lot of smoke from the white sage, and the smoke in white sage is really healing because it releases negative ions into the atmosphere. Now, negative ions are those ions that make us feel really good after it rains. Right before it rains, you may be feeling a bit lethargic, you may be achy. People who have certain illnesses sometimes feel worse, but right after that rain, the air smells crisp, it's refreshing, and you feel better. Well, that's because of the negative ions that have been released into the atmosphere. Same thing with white sage. So white sage kind of makes you feel happy, makes your space feel good. When you're cleaning with white sage, get into every little nook and cranny that you can get into when you're cleansing your space. Cleansing self, some people prefer to start from the top, work their way down. You can use feathers to fan. You can simply take the piece of white sage and just kind of let the smoke blow over yourself. Some people prefer to cleanse from the top down. I happen to like to begin at the bottom, but again, it's a matter of personal preference. Now, the thing about white sage is many people think white sage, that's it. I've done my cleansing. I'm supposed to feel really good. What happened? Well, white sage is great for gentle cleansing, cleansing your space. But when you really need a heavy-duty cleanse, you need a little bit more than white sage. Some people think sweetgrass is also an answer. Sweetgrass, hence the name sweet grass, is not for cleansing. What we traditionally like to do is after a space has been cleansed with white sage, we use a sweetgrass braid to sweeten the energy, to sweeten the air. So, how do you cleanse when you need something a little more powerful than white sage? A great way to do it is with resins. Resins would be copal, frankincense, myrrh, dragon's blood. And resins are the heavy-duty cleansers, I like to say. So to work with a resin, you need to use charcoal. I already have something prepared, but for demonstration purposes, here's a piece of charcoal. There's also bamboo charcoal, which is Japanese, and it's a little trickier for the novice to use. You can use the entire piece, but to be honest with you, you really don't need that much resin. So I like to break the piece in half. Then you start by just simply lighting it from underneath, and you're going to see some sparks. And that's so you know that your charcoal has begun to light. It's going to take a little while. to turn completely white. I don't know if we can zoom in here to see, and you really need to do this on a heat-proof dish, and you should have sand, salt in the bottom. Sensors are really good options. I'm using my little cauldron here. Another item that I really like to use when I am working with charcoal is I like to use a piece of tile. Heat-proof plate, heat-proof dish is a good option. I actually purchased these at Lowe's and Home Depot for under $2, and they're really great to have around the house. So your charcoal is white, and now you're going to add the resin. In this case, I'm working with Copal, which is really one of my favorites. Now, you can get Copal from different countries. There are different types. There's yellow, there's white. Mexican Copal is really great. There's also Copal from Sumatra. Great resources online to find Copal if there is no shop near you. Now, one simple piece of resin at a time will do it. The Copal, or whatever you choose, frankincense, is going to begin to smoke up, as you will see in a moment or two. I don't know if we can zoom in on this, but you're going to see a lot of smoke is going to come off that one simple piece. So don't use a lot. I've made that mistake and have actually resulted in a visit from the fire department. So just a little bit. You can always add more as it burns out. And like sage, you want to get into every little nook and cranny that you possibly can get into when you're using the Copal. So you would use this one piece for a small space. You're doing larger areas, you would use more. Once the Copal or the frankincense, whatever resin you've chosen, has burnt out or subsided, now you have to bring something sweet into your space. A lot of people don't think about that, but you've cleansed, you've removed the negativity, you have a nice, fresh, clean space. It's time to bring a little something sweet in. So my suggestions would be something like a jasmine or a rose incense. You could even use a spray, a rose water. You can use a lavender hydrosol, but after you've cleansed, it's really nice to bring something into the space to fill that space. One last thing I forgot to mention, when you do a cleansing, please open up windows, open up doors if possible, because you want that funky energy to leave. You don't want it to remain in your space. So open up the windows, let the funky energies dissipate, and then bring something sweet into your space. Blessings. Thank you.